Well, hello and Happy New Year. This is Sandy from Sandy Cogdill Designs, and today I have a really fun Valentine's Day card from Trinity Stamps. The stamp set is called My One Gnomely. I decided I would do a light up card just because I think they're really fun and unique. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you would like to be notified of future videos. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and let's get started. To get started, I'm going to use a piece of cardstock that is 5.5 by 6 inches, and I'm just going to ink blend some spun sugar distress oxide over the entire cardstock. I want that to be my background color. My ink pad is really dry, so I'm having to work awfully hard at getting this blended onto the paper, but it's actually working to my advantage because then I don't have to worry too much about areas being too dark. Okay, with that done, and I didn't go all the way to the bottom because I know I'm going to be doing this card as a portrait card, so I don't have to worry too much about going all the way to the bottom. I do want a little bit more on my background, but I don't want it to be super duper obvious. So I'm going to take the Layered Hearts background stencil from Lawn Fawn. I'm going to lay that on my inked piece of cardstock now, and I'm just lightly going to go over those hearts, again with my almost dry stamp head, which again is going to be just perfect because then it's not going to be too dark. Now I'm going to put that second layer of my stencil down and just do a few more of the little hearts on my background. I think that'll be just enough. I'm going to water down some silver metallic watercolor paint and just kind of spatter that all over my card. I'm going to heat emboss the sentiment on the background that I just inked. I'm going to be using Simply Sentimental Love stamp. Both of the sentiments are from that stamp set. I am always a little bit nervous when I am stamping directly on a background that I have just inked, especially when heat embossing. Sometimes it just doesn't turn out the way I want it to, especially with the smaller letters. But I did not have the die for this stamp set, so we're just gonna cross our fingers and hope for the best. Anyway, I'm using Versamark watermark stamp pad and just some black embossing powder. I'll get that stamped on my background and then powdered up with my embossing powder. I will use my heat gun to melt that embossing powder, and voila, the embossing gods were on my side today. That turned out just perfect. Okay, now on to coloring our little friends. Like I said before, this is Trinity Stamps My One and Only stamp set. I am using Copic markers, and for my pinks, which are predominantly the stripes on her hat and her little outfit, I am using RV13, RV14, and RV21, R35, and R39. For the skin colors, I am using R00, R11, and R20 for the little blushing on their cheeks. For her hair, I am using Y32 and Y23. The little shoes are E13, E23, and E25. And the little beard is C1 and C3. And I just do a little bit of shading, leaving most of it white. This is a super quick little coloring project. The bulk of the time on this card is definitely going to be inking the background and getting your lights set. And we will move on to that in just 1 second here. Now that I've got that colored, I'm going to go ahead and use the die that comes with the die set for this stamp set. I like this die because it cuts out that center little spot that kind of makes a wonky little heart in between their little hats. So I'm going to go ahead and run that through my die cutting machine. Now I'm going to start placing my little hearts for the little openings where my lights are going to be. I am using some dies from a Lawn Fawn hearts or a Lawn Fawn die set, but you could use hearts from any set that you have in your stash. Anyway, I'm going to use 2 different sizes. I had thought about 3. I think 2 works best, and since I'm only doing 3 openings because I only have 3 lights, I decided I would just do 2 of the same size and 1 of the smaller ones. So at first I'm going to place my small and my large one where I think they're going to line up best, kind of putting my cutout stamp set where I'm going to be adhering it to the card. Once I have those 2 stamps or 2 dies placed where I want them, I will go ahead, tape them, and run them through my die cutting machine. And I will do the same thing with that third little heart. Once I have that all cut out, we will be ready to start putting the lights in. I'm using a piece of white cardstock cut to the same size as the front. I went ahead and just kind of penciled in where the hearts kind of lined up on that white cardstock in the background. So I knew exactly where I wanted to put in my little piece of glitter paper. That is going to be the part that shows through the little heart openings. All right, off camera, I did stamp on the little instruction stamp in the bottom corner that says push here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some really strong double-sided adhesive tape and put it on the back of my lighting mechanism, and then I will adhere it over where the push here stamp is, but I need to remember to leave a little bit of space on the outside edges of the background because I am still going to need to put a little bit of foam tape there so that corner doesn't kind of crumble or bend. Now that I've got the little push button adhered to the back of the front of my card, I'm going to get that stuck down, and then I'm going to start arranging my little wires in the openings of the hearts. I wasn't sure if I wanted the light to be completely covered by the card front or if I wanted the light to show a little bit. I tested it both ways and felt it looked kind of odd with the light behind the paper. It just didn't really do what I was hoping it was going to do. So I decided I would just leave the little light piece sticking at the very bottom of that heart point. I'm going to get those placed where I want them, and then I'm going to use just a little bit of regular Scotch tape, adhesive tape, to place those down and get them exactly where I want them. I do kind of twist that wire around so that my light is actually facing forward on the front of the card. Once I have those 3 little hearts, the lights in the little hearts, then I kind of wrap up the rest of my wires and tape that down using the Scotch tape also. Now that I know everything is going to work on the front of this card as far as the lights lighting up, I'm going to take double-sided foam tape and just go around the entire outside of that card front and then make sure I'm building up in the center of the card front. I kind of want to make sure that my little hearts are kind of boxed in with the foam tape so some of the light doesn't escape out. I don't know if it really does or not, but I just felt like it might, so I did. Anyway, I'm going to put the foam tape all around, again, the outside edges of that card front over the wires and then kind of box in the heart openings. I'm also going to take some very thin foam tape and put them around the outside edges of where that little push button is, just to make sure that when that button is pressed that you're not bending down the corner of that card. Now I'm going to peel off all of the tape liner and adhere it to the back of my card, lining it up as best as I can. Okay, now we're coming down to the home stretch. I wanted to add in a little bit of ground underneath my gnomes so they weren't just kind of floating mid-air. So I kind of leave them on my card, figure out where I want the ground to go, and then I just kind of mark it in with a Copic marker. Nothing special, there's no shading, it's just a bunch of lines that I kind of blend out. I've added a little white highlighting using my gel pen on my little friends, and then I'm just going to take a little bit of glue and add a few more little hearts onto the card. I just felt like it needed just a little bit more. I don't want to get carried away with it, and I really like the little open hearts that I had from that die set also. So I'll get those adhered on, and then we are going to finish up this card. I generally like to have a little bit of a cardstock frame around the front of most of my cards. So the front of this card was actually cut at 4 by 5¼ inches. And I have another piece of cardstock cut at 5½ by 4¼ and I'm just going to use some liquid glue to adhere the front of the card to the card base. I prefer to use liquid glue as opposed to a double-sided adhesive, just because it gives me a little bit of time and a little bit of wiggle room to get that lined up a little bit better on that back cardstock. I find that when I use the double-sided adhesive that it sticks too quickly on me, or I press too fast, and then I'm trying to take it off without damaging it to get the front of my card nice and centered. So that is one of the reasons why I do like to use liquid glue. And now our card is all done. I just think it is so cute with the little hearts that light up when they're kissing. In retrospect, I kind of wish I would have used the little stamp that comes in that set that says moi, because that would just add just that little bit extra. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this video today. Go ahead and hit subscribe if you'd like to be notified of future videos. You can also follow me on my blog at sandycogdaledesigns.com and on my Instagram at sandycogdale. Thanks so much for stopping by. I hope you have a great day and a Happy New Year. Bye-bye.